All right, excellent afternoon, viewers. While some have been agitating for separation and secession, some have been clamoring for unity for the nation. In recent times, many have, preferred different ideas as solutions to our crisis. However, right here from the studios of Silverbird Television, we are bringing you real talk directly from the players and stakeholders involved. My name remains Kikelomoatandaowo, of course, here on Real Talk, and my other co-host and I are holding it down because Masha could not be in the studio today. But trust me, Damilola and I will bring you all the juice that you need. How are you doing, Damilola?
I'm beautiful today. I'm doing very well. Hello, viewer from everywhere in Nigeria and abroad that you're getting to watch us today. It's another Real Talk. It's another day to express our feelings. It's another day to know how we feel about the nation and how dare and how patriotic we are in Nigeria. Welcome again.
All right. On that note, I think it's important for us to quickly dive into on this day in history. I'm sure on this day in history is something that is similar to our topic of the show. So let's hear what Nigeria has to say from history. Stay with us and listen in.
Started on this day from 6th July.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. On this day in history, it's unfortunate. I must say that July 6, talks about Biafra, and Biafra was about agitation for sovereignty with the Igbo nation. And now the same still exists till date. I must say that the Sunday Igbo for Yoruba nation and Nnamdi Kanu, for Biafra again, it only shows that, I'm sorry to say that the government of the day is not learning from history, because there are times that I wonder that why are we still repeating what has happened in the past? Are we not learning from what has transpired that we can say that we want to get better at coexisting with one another and looking for a better unity? Dami, what's your take on this?
Well, it basically brings me to the table that history has come back to our faces. Maybe some of us were not born in 1967 when it started. Maybe we were born. Some of our parents, of course, can tell the tale exactly how we started and what ended it. But now, years down the line, children and grandchildren have come and we are inheriting the same exact story that happened. Probably the only difference is the fact that we are not in a military regime and we're in a civilized or civilian regime. But it doesn't make any difference that history has come back to dish it to us just like this. And we're accepting it without, like you said, we're not learning from the past. So how do we build a future? What do we build upon? Because we have not even taken our past and created a ladder out of the stones or the sticks that the past has thrown at us. And in 2021, when the world has gone global, the world has gone extra techie, we are still dealing with... It's quite unfortunate because our children are hearing the stories that we heard as children play out now. So it's like the story of our Lord Jesus Christ come back to earth and people are rebirthing each other It's sad. It's really sad. But what can we do? We have to leave it the way it has come. But we need earnestly to find a solution.
No news that the rally of the Yoruba Nation, which held over the weekend, was disallowed and disrupted by the police with tear gas, with, will I say, canister, and of course unarmed civilians. Protesters were arrested during the process. The leader of the Yoruba Nation movement, Sunday at the Igbo house, was also was raided on Friday, last week to be precise, by the DSS after a gun battle, according to reports, and 2 of Igbo's aides were killed, and he as the activist had to escape. Now the federal government said that the spokesman of the DSS has declared him fugitive and wanted by all cause. This leads us to our topic on what is the way forward. Should the country hearken to the cry of the secession as advocated by the separatists, or should Nigerians stick to one nation amidst the degree of injustice and marginalization that is melted to some people in the same region of the country? But today on the show, we will be speaking with a public affairs commentator and by profession a human rights activist. We will be discussing the topic on secession constitutionalization review as a solution advocated by many social thinkers to move Nigeria forward. But, before we take a quick look at his profile, I think it's important for us, to debate on this. Damilola, what's your take on it thus far with the little extractions that we've seen on social media? I know social media is a new court of law. You don't even need to buy newspaper anymore. I'm
telling you, it just shows us that even our jobs as media practitioners, as journalists, we need to be on our toes. We need to do more. Sometimes I get angry. I will use the word angry at myself and some of our other colleagues, because half information is no information at all. And sometimes I see some captions by journalists and I'm wondering that, are you reducing this? Are you reducing the stress we have, or you are adding up to it? In the sense that there are sometimes that we can manage our captions and make it subtle. But when journalists are the ones even trying to feel some of these things, we are the ones feeding the nation. Now, on the other part of the government, doing things that I think that tramples upon our human rights as individuals. Whatever Sunday Igbo did, I don't think that they had a need to raid his house. Citing an example that all of his campaigns, all of his he attacked them peaceful protests. And we didn't see any firearms. I do not know which book says it is illegal to have traditional bodyguards, like the word they put out there. But I also think that it is fair enough if the government had granted the Northerners some sort of amnesty, and some people in the South also enjoy amnesty. I think there should be a coalition of everybody put together, listen to both sides of the story. But when we are taking the civilian regime, because maybe some retired military people are still in the cabinet of powers, it begs my curiosity to say, are we running dictatorship? Man who was arrested, he was extradited, brought back. I saw some fallacy about Kenyan government. I don't know if you saw that same thing. And sometimes we don't even know where to place our current situation. Welcome to the show, Malachy Ugwummadu. It is indeed an honor to have you on the show. So thank you for honoring our invite. I know that you have to leave the courtroom to join us via Zoom today. I must go straight to the point. Even the layman on the streets know that the federal government of Nigeria has violated the fundamental human rights by the barring of Sunday Igbo from having a peaceful rally and even going further to raid his house with massive firepower. So, and I also saw it on social media yesterday when Femi Falana says no law in Nigeria backs night arrest, dictatorship of the rule of law right now, especially when it comes to this administration.
Well, first of all, I must register my apology. It was my intention to join you, considering that this is about the most topical issue in the country now. So I had to excuse the court to be with you. So I apologize to you, I apologize to my colleagues over there and the audience.
Many thanks.
The point is simple. It is that Nigerians, known as Sunday Igbo and any other person, has what you call fundamental right to freely express his or herself. This right of expression can be by demonstration. In fact, in the 2007 case, in which the present president was involved. I'm referencing AMPP, that is All Nigerian People's Party, and IGP. The Court of Appeal took the view, rightly in my view, that the right to freely express yourself also include the right to protest against policies of government that you do not like. So that is settled as far as we are concerned, both in political terms, both within the judiciary and with decided authorities. What is an issue is a distinction between what we call agitation for self-determination as recognized by the law, as well as criminal activities outrightly. In this regard, we are saying that a people, whether within a nation or within a country, has rights to self-determination. This has been recognized by the United Nations. It is in the United Nations Charter. Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations Charter, or a member state. It is there in the convention, International Convention for Civil and Political Rights. Nigeria is a signatory. But more importantly, the one that is local to us, it is there in the African Charter on Peoples and Human Rights, which has been domesticated, in other words, made a law in Nigeria. We're a signatory, we have domesticated it. It is part of our domestic law. So, where what has been given by way of notice, it has been protest, demonstration, rally, it will not lie in the mouth of any government agency or any government to criminalize that, because that's not the truth. What is more, it is even more painful that in the process of Muslim and abridging these rights, we have had incidents of death, killing, abridgment of these rights in a manner that is completely against the Constitution that we all practice and we all uphold, we all profess and took oath to uphold. I think this is the basis and this is the fulcrum of the controversy at the moment. I am not in any way excusing any form of violence, but make no mistake about it. There hasn't even been the demonstration. There wasn't therefore any case of violence. What was the situation with Igbo, which you have mentioned to me, is that even before the rally, there was an unholy invasion to his private home, and we saw video clips of the massive destruction of property, including lives, as reported. So, direct to your question is that the scale is large. It is a sad commentary in our history, in our politicization, in our democratization effort. It undermines the efforts that have been made in the past, and erode the gains that we have also recorded in the past. This whole attitude of killing Nigerians at whims, is it that somebody's home was visited or raided in the guise of searching, whether with or without warrant, and you record that 3 people were killed, 4 people, as if these are mere animals.
Malachy, apologies, I might have to interrupt your line of thoughts, because, with what you've been saying thus far, it's obvious that the government is clamping down those propagating secession, and their argument is that the sovereignty and security of the Nigerian state is more paramount and crucial than any single tribe or ethnic agitation. So from your own point of view, with what you've shared thus far, do you think the government is wrong for safeguarding the sovereignty of the Nigerian state?
Well, let's even reference the law again, since you are speaking to a lawyer, and this is with all modesty. Okay. Section 14, subsection 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, vests, in other words, gives to the Nigerian people this sovereignty you talk about. This sovereignty emanates from the people from which the constitution is made and from where the government exercises its power on behalf of the people. So there's no mistake about where sovereignty lies. It lies with the people. But please, I'd like to draw our attention to a very salient disparity between secession, and self-determination. What we are talking about is right to self-determination. You are not talking about seceding as such. If that is the case, you are referencing a different body of activity that also connotes, if you like, some measure of context of the sovereignty of the existing nation. That is debatable, whether it's acceptable in the circumstance that it played out or not. The point to be made is that I have enumerated the laws relating to self-determination and said that it is well within the people who, that feels that they want to have full control of their affairs. They want to manage their own affairs and to determine their fate within the Committee of Nations. But if you are referencing secession, then you're talking of a different thing. It is not, you don't do that by negotiation, by engagement. No, that happens by waging war. That was what, we witnessed in Nigeria between 1967 and 1970. Now, it will depend on the balance of force or forces. If you succeed, probably because you have the superiority of forces or weaponry, then you go your way. But if you don't, like the Biafra did in the 60s, then you are repaired and brought back. So I think that distinction must be drawn, because the analogy I have given is in relation to self-determination, which is largely what is happening at the moment. I'm talking about Sunday Igbo, who has, put out, and by the way, this was not the last place.
Can I interject your line of thoughts at the moment? You have spoken and explained so much about our right to succession, our rights to sovereignty, our rights to liberty, our rights to freedom of expression, inclusive of peaceful protest. But now, as it is in the country, it begs my curiosity to ask that who is behind not picking the Constitution or not making the Constitution work? Because if you as a legal luminary understand the Constitution, and I am most definite that there are a number of you out there, who should be the custodians and make sanctions to these people, this set of people who do not uphold the Constitution despite swearing into power with this same Constitution? Then how do we balance justice? How do we bring them to book? Who is culpable of it?
Well, my sister, let's play the hot air around this issue. Again, I don't think it would be useful to draw a dichotomy between lawyers and the citizen. Let us see ourselves as occupants of the office of the citizen. And by implication, what I mean is that in the circumstance that we find ourselves as citizens of Nigeria, it will be almost futile to begin to draw distinction between lawyers and non-lawyers, as the case may be. I have once told a judge, and this is with profound respect, that, my Lord, if and when the roof of this country falls, there will not be a chair on which a judge will sit down. The reason is that we're first Nigerians. Malachy Ugwummadu is first in Nigeria because he became a lawyer. In the same way, my Lord was first in Nigeria before he became a lawyer, before he became a judge. So that point must be made, that rather than, finding or locating this crisis within any profession, it is the responsibility of the citizens of this country. Those who have led us in the past in this struggle were not lawyers. Meko Ransome-Kuti was not a lawyer. Chima Obani of great memory was not a lawyer. Professor Festus Iyari was not a lawyer. Granted that lawyers have shown sufficient enthusiasm, sufficient understanding, and like you said, almost repositories of these laws that we talk about. But in the final analysis, when the lawyer assumes office, or when the lawyer advances his arguments and position, it affects the generality of the citizens. So for me, it is important to strengthen the citizens whose rights are violated, empower them in a way that they will be able to challenge the transgressions of the holders of this power, which is usually transient and temporary. It is this empowerment by the kind of interaction we're having today, by the kind of interface that we have always had in the past, and by that kind of engagement that the people of this country have shown that will liberate us. And what is more, power is never given free. You don't take it. You don't just say, go there. You fight for it. You fight for it in the same way you fight for your life. And this is where we are today. It has been clearly demonstrated, decades after decades, government after government, that the quotient of attention, of priority that governments after government pay to the citizenry, to the welfare of the citizens, is very, very small in relation to what they do to protect themselves. So what we do is to go away from organizing, go away from the blame game, organize rather than agonize, mobilize our resentments and dissatisfactions and anger in a positive way that gives us the edge above this very small percentage of Nigerians.
Talking about mobilizing our strength, we have showed different ways by which we can mobilize our strength. But looking at the recent Yoruba Nation rally that happened in Ojota on the 2nd, they have always tried to silence us. Are they really ready? Do you think the government of the day is truly ready to listen to us? Or the way you said, we should mobilize against, if we mobilize against 2023, I foresee a 2023 that might not have a balance. So would you rather say the Nigerian government wants us to keep doing this? Then how do we keep mobilizing when we cannot have peaceful protests?
All right, Malachy, before you answer the question, I think it's important. Malachy, before you answer that question, I think it's important to quickly open our phone lines. Please remember that you can be part of this conversation by calling the number 080-988-77400. It's showing on your screen right now, and we are streaming live on the platform of Real Talk with Kike and, of course, on Silverbird. Please go ahead with your question, with your response to that.
I think the best way I can respond to your question, and I'm quite glad that people are asking not theoretical questions this time, but practical questions. I thank you for that. My sincere response would be that freedom is never given free. If we have not gotten to El Dorado, it will mean that the effort we have been putting in is not sufficient enough. It will mean that we need to push further. It will mean that we need to bring to bear the kind of creativity that the younger elements like you, the dynamism, that useful energy and the resolve to break the jinx and recover from these people the future of Nigeria. It will mean that we may have to exit our comfort zones. It will mean that we will have to recreate ourselves. For you to have brought me here, you probably have taken into account some of the modest efforts we have made in the past, starting from the days of the university. And if I'm speaking about that, you could imagine those who have paid greater prices than some of us. People have had to lay down their lives.
All right, apologies, I might have to interrupt your line of thought. We have a caller on the line. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello? Kindly tune down the volume of your TV set.
Please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
The issue I found about nation of this country, Nigeria. It's all about, I don't really see the way we Nigerians are covering our government. Because when organized rallies, they don't trust, they disorganize it. Yes, how can they as a citizen of this country come together to justice? Because the people that are in our country, the people are calling themselves, and they don't want to give up power easily. So this,
All right, many thanks for your contribution. Apologies, I might have to let that go. You know, Malachy, when you were speaking earlier, I must also emphasize that Professor Wole Soyinka also holds the view that it is illegal for anyone to express intention to leave the federation if they feel unsatisfied. So, given the route taken by the Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igbo, how would you suggest that people should, process leaving the federation by taking from the angle of, maybe talking from the angle of law and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Well, you may have to come with that question again. I didn't quite understand.
So I said that
yes.
I got some extractions from Wole Soyinka's interview with BBC Yoruba, where he said that he is of the opinion that that people should hold the views of how will I put this now, that is, it is illegal for anyone to express intention to want to leave the federation if they are unsatisfied with what is ongoing at the moment. So my question to you now is that, given the route that they have taken, put laws in their hands, so to speak, without not going by the books, when it came to the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igbo, how would you suggest, or what process will you advise that they should follow when it comes to federation, when it comes to the angle of law and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in abiding to the rule of law?
Well, if I understand you clearly, my response would be that if it doesn't smell, it doesn't sell. Many of the subjects of agitation or objects of agitations are desires of ideal standards and welfare for a people all over history. Is it the 1917 revolution? Is it the Russian Revolution? Is it the Orange Revolution? Is it the Arab Spring? And so on and so forth. The point I'm making is it June 12th agitation, the one we witnessed? What the point I'm making is that it is never an easy enterprise to seek to displace the status quo, because whether you like it or not, there are entrenched elements benefiting from an existing status quo, even if it is not in the interest of the generality of the people, which is what is supposed to be. Therefore, whoever desires to bring a change must put into consideration certain factors. One, he or she must realize that it is not a dash, it is and necessarily must be a race, in which case he or she must be prepared for a long-drawn struggle. Such a struggle that will not terminate simply because a commissioner of police merely says you cannot come to my state of jurisdiction to protest. We had that severally, repeatedly under the military. And I stand to tell you that I was the National Deputy Secretary of JACON, led by Chief Gani Fawemi at the age of 25, 26. Each of those moments, they were, by the way, more brutal than what you have today. And it is a pity that we're discussing brutality within within civil space where we ought to have civil behavior. But if we had succumbed at every stage and turn and curve.
Apologies, I might have to interrupt your line of thought again. We have a caller on the line. Hello, what's your name and where are you calling from, please? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Please
Okay,
go
good
ahead.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead, please. You have 1 minute.
I want to, the idea of fighting the government as of now, where even the opposition are beginning to join the ruling party with this misrule. How do we team up to fight against what is happening?
All right, thank you, Suleiman. Malachy, that's to you.
The question wasn't, I couldn't hear it.
He said, how do we team up? When you, I'm sure that listening to you, when you mentioned teaming up, coming together, bringing a force from our end to face and to override what is happening now. So his question is, how do we team up? Where do we team up?
I can give several historical examples of that. Okay. And this is born out of the fact or realization that a people gets to a certain point in their desire to have a normal society and realize that they cannot do it all alone. In the heat of military rule in this country, we have at least, I can mention 3 cardinal times when Nigerians came under umbrella organizations. I can talk of UAD, United Action for Democracy. Okay. It was led by Dr. Olisa Bakoba. And it was a coalition of all the progressive civil society forces in this country that propelled the fight against the military to disengage them. Before then was the CD, Campaign for Democracy, where you had the likes of Dr. Beck Torres and again Chima Opani, Professor Sylvester Ojao-Kaine, and a host of other progressive Nigerians who came together, realizing that they could not do it as individual organizations and persons, pulled their forces together to engage on a common cause. There was the JACON, the Joint Action Committee of Nigeria, between 98 and 99, before the return to democracy, where I said I had the privilege of serving as the National Deputy Secretary. What was the idea behind that? It is that as we engage, as the business of nation building gets thickened, gets hotter, it imposes a responsibility on the leadership of the people to also devise ways by which to break the hurdles, scale through the hurdles, and break the jinx, as it were. This time around,
Malachy,
we have seen PDP.
Malachy, we are running out of time, and I think this might be our last.
APC.
This might be our last question before we quickly go into the other segments. You know, is that violence and war, just like you've explained when it comes to history, and we've seen that violence and war is not what we should say as in we should avoid at all costs, given the lessons learned from the Biafra war in 54 years ago, to be precise. So what's your advice to the followers of Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho who may want to, bring trouble or cause trouble because of the disposition of the government to their agitations? In 1 minute, I would be glad if you can give your
well, given the strength that they have shown, and when I say strength, I'm talking about the multitude of Nigerians that they have been able to mobilize behind a cause that they have defined for themselves. Given the opportunity that they have to redirect the affairs of this country and drag this country in the direction of the property that we preach around, I would think that they should take and consolidate on that and build more political power and intervene within the political space to displace these people who are running this country amok, who are running this country aground. Thank you.
Time out to be on the show today. But before we let you go, there's a segment that we call On This Day in History. You know, are you there?
Trending stories.
I am.
All right, so before we let you go, there's a segment that we call trending story, and those trending stories are what affect us all, what connect us all together. So let's quickly trash that in a few minutes, you know. And the first trending story that caught our attention is that of Ugwummadu demanded for 500 million compensation and an apology from federal government, and how the 14th-year-old girl who died during the rally on Saturday. You know, some said she's 21, some said she's 25. But you know, Damilola, quickly, let me take your submission. What's your take on this story?
Either 24 or 25 or 21.
No one should have died.
A life was lost. Not again should we repeat what you people do not want you to remind, what you do not want us to remind you about, which was the NSAS protest. It's the same. Let's put it on a scale. It's the same thing. Yeah. Before the peaceful protesters even came out, there was an already waiting, fully armed, fully kitted policeman at the venue. What are you trying to say? What were they supposed to be there for? To safeguard lives and properties, and they are the ones destroying these lives and properties? I really don't think that we are taking the right route into decision making. I think we're still way behind, putting the cart before the horse. No lives should be lost.
All right, many thanks, Damilola, for that submission. I think for me, I think that these governments are not listening to its citizens, because I've thought about it. I keep asking, you know, why are they protesting? Why are we protesting? Why have they not paid attention to the high rate of unemployment in this country called Nigeria? Why can't the people air their views or opinions peaceful? You know, why is it that the peaceful protest is frowned against? You know, and all of these questions I kept asking, and it seems that the history or the government that is in power today, or will I just say that the government that I read in school, that it seems to be only theory and not practical at what we are living today. It's far from reality. And the Yoruba rally at the Freedom Park, I had issues with the rally because of the 2020 rally NSAS that was hijacked, even though Sunday Igbo said that it will be peaceful. But first, it's the right of the people to protest, and the police should provide protection to the peaceful protesters. You know, secondly, is that it was clearly seen from the preparation of the police force that they were against the protest. They didn't even want the protest to take place. So there's no point debating whether the protest should be peaceful or not being peaceful, because the stance was so clear, and it is absolutely, you know, disrespectful to the rule of law, with all what Malachy have said thus far. And I must say again that they said the duty of police was to protect peaceful protesters. Who shot the young girl? The police came at firearmed,
battle ready.
If they were using
water canisters,
rubbers and the likes and all of that to actually face
rubber bullets,
you know, you would look for how to find a balance to all that is going on presently, but you will realize that all of this was not what they planned. You know, but quickly, Malachy, what's your take on this?
Well, very, very quickly, I think that we have long exceeded that stage where Nigerians will be killed wantonly. I am glad that we understand that investigation has been commissioned to unravel what happened to that young girl, because it is completely against the law to take human life without the orders of the court. That is one. Secondly, you cannot, in the pretext of searching or searching the premises of a suspect and unleash mayhem that takes life. Those who perpetrated those atrocities must be brought to book. Otherwise, it will repeat itself again, because that is how you build the culture of impunity, where you did nothing with respect to a previous malfeasance. And thirdly, it is that this is our country. It has been long fought. The battle to reclaim the rights of Nigerians took a lot of sweat and blood. And it will be very, very unfortunate for anyone to think that it can reverse the hands of the clock at this stage. We have a constitutional right to demonstrate, to express ourselves, and safeguard until you have a corresponding authority from the court. You cannot abridge that right. And that is the point to be made. This must not be mistaken for outright criminal activity. I do not support outright criminal activity or any form of violence. If the law enforcement agencies are sure of what they are saying, they should have the capacity to isolate those criminal activities away from the Nigerian people who desire to protest the obnoxious policies of the state and who desire to take their fates into their hand and protest by rejecting the status quo. That is my take.
All right. Many thanks, Malachy, for taking time out to join us. Show. Of course, it's edifying to hear all your submission thus far, especially when it comes to the Constitution, the laws, and of course, we hope that we'll have a better country where we all can live together as one. On this note, I think this is where we'll come to the end of the show. So we'll come your way on Thursday. Please keep
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Please keep being patriotic citizens of Nigeria. I think together we shall get there. Bye for now.